Well, it's a beautiful morning in downtown Rio Grande. Well, it's actually not downtown, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Cell phones don't even work out here. This is the controversial bed of asparagus. We've had some comments made on it. That's fine. It's an experiment to see if it's going to work or not. As indicated before, Eli, who's taking the film right at the moment, my son, built these raised gardens so that I don't have to get down on my hands and knees. I've managed to get a little older than I was before. We are concerned about this bed. This bed was removed from a bed that was down there, which now has raised garden beds on top of it. We had to take them up, and I transferred them here. Now, we transferred them in the proper conditions of the ground, fertility-wise, pH-wise. The whole thing has been balanced before we put them in here. Made the trenches 8 inches deep, like you're supposed to when you plant more asparagus. Moved them the same minute that they came out of that bed, they got put in here. Now we're waiting for them to come up. As we can see, we've got about 50% return in the bed, and we see a nice new one coming up there in the middle, but we've only got about 50% success so far getting fern from the asparagus. Now, there was a question raised, and I made a mistake, error in judgment, because I didn't read everything that I could get my hands on. So I put onions down through the middle of this because I overbought the onions. Well, I didn't want to throw them away, as we were talking about the last time we did a film about this subject. So I planted them. You don't do that. It says, or people have told me since, that diseases can spread from onions to asparagus, asparagus to onions. They do not make good companion crops. They eat the same nutrients as what asparagus needs. So they're in competition, and they will stunt the growth of your asparagus. So don't plant onions with asparagus. All right, so I took them all up, and we put them down here, as well as a few other spots in the garden. So here's my transplanted onions. This bed is brand new. These came from Guernsey's, and we have 100% return on their product. I put them in the same way I did those. Proper pH, the whole thing balanced, and we have a good 100% return as far as these ferns starting to grow. Of course, we can't touch them now for 2 years, but they should materialize into a fairly decent crop. As far as onions go, we have onions. These are Guernsey onions too. These are the candies. They're a sweet onion, more or less a yellow onion, and they just got plucked out of there, put in here shortly after I plucked them out, and they're doing great. This is asparagus. We'll see how that goes. The other asparagus I bought died.
Rhubarb.
So rhubarb, I'm sorry.
Here, go back and do that again.
The other rhubarb is doing fine as far as this one from Guernsey. And the one that I put here died, so I've replaced it with 2, and of course it hasn't been enough time for them to see if they're going to live or not. Over here, this is onions, about mid-season onions for them, because these things were planted the beginning of March. They're supposed to get to be about 2-3 inches in diameter. It's going to be a good onion crop, it looks like. I don't see any diseases. We keep it well weeded, and again, it has been taken care of with chicken manure. This is chicken manure in here as a occupant because onions like nitrogen. Now, In a couple weeks, I'll be putting another row of very lightly fertilize it to end its particular growth. And when these things die off and bend over, it's time to harvest. I'm looking at my strawberries and they are doing real well. I need to see a weed in there too. That's not good. But at any rate, they've blossomed. I have a few pollinators working on the blossoms. Hopefully the pollinators will finish. Oh, here's one of Christopher's bees working. I don't know if you can catch him or not, or him. But at any rate, here's another one coming in. So we're having good pollination from the bees. There are several species of bees, and I see that there's our domestic bee, and then there's a few wild ones running around in there. They are starting to bud up. This, believe it or not, does make a very decent companion crop as far as garlic is concerned. This is common milkweed. Now, the thing about this common milkweed is that this bed used to be, before we put the raised bed in it, used to be for the common milkweed. I didn't think it would grow with 3 layers of bedding on top of it, plus more dirt and so forth and so on, but it did. And it must be a pretty strong plant. This is a garlic that I'm hoping will mature so that we can get pieces off of it for planting next year. I think we can. This is the senility is starting to slip in here, so I'm forgetting what I'm doing. What I'm trying to say is they grew and my Walla Wallas didn't. I'm trying out the Walla Wallas because they say that they can be grown here in this part. This is a 6B geographically appropriate growing zone. So as a result, I put the Walla Wallas in and I put the regular short stems in too. And that took care of that. You can see what grew real well. This is the onions that are also called Walla Wallas. They're not expected to become 4 inches round like the picture shows that are planted in Washington State. However, they're supposed to be about 3/4 that size if you grow them in our particular location. So we're going down here, and this had a layer of chicken manure on it. It was balanced as far as pH is concerned with the sulfur and so forth, and it appears to be doing pretty well. We'll have to wait and see when they die down and pull one up and we'll show you. I'm rather excited about my potatoes. This is done with cow manure and topsoil mixed with Miracle-Gro, and they seem to be doing real well. The question I have is, did I get too much nitrogen on here and all I'm getting is foliage, or is there actually something going on underneath of there? We're going to be building a specialized cucumber because there was an experiment done by somebody else that did it, and if they had success, I want to see if I can duplicate it. This has cow manure, Miracle-Gro, additional topsoil to bring it up to the level that we can work. And the idea is to plant the cucumbers along the edges and put a panel, hog wire actually, with 4.5 inch, I think, holes in them at a 45-degree angle, like so, tied to here. That way the cucumbers only have an opportunity to vine on that particular grid, and see if that makes it easier on them for air circulation and all the other stuff that has to go on to grow a good cucumber. You can't crowd them, and they have to have air circulation. So getting them up off the ground so that they can get the photosynthesis they need and all the other stuff they need, such as pollinators, putting them on a rack seems to be the way to go. Well, we'll see. It's a little too early to put cucumbers in the ground, so we'll just have to wait on that. Over here, this is peas. Now, this has been inoculated with nitrogen. Added to it was chicken manure, which is nitrogen. These guys like nitrogen. Now you also have to have a good balance of potash and phosphorus. But nevertheless, it's all been done. And the ground was worked up, let set for a while, about 3 weeks, with all the nutrients added to it so the rains could take it and put it down in the ground. So here's beginnings of peas. Now, of course, the problem with that is the idea is for them to grow on this fence, but you have to train them. Some of them just don't want to grow where I want them, so you have to sort of put them over here on the line and let it catch. Now that little piece of biomass will wrap around that fence and continue to grow. But they have to be trained. Those that don't automatically go get moved. And gotta be kind of careful because these stems are flimsy. They're okay for peas as long as you don't touch them, so I'm touching them. That's not good. But you gotta be sort of careful. And then say, hello pea, there's a piece of wire there, grab a hold of it, and it almost did. Try again. Well, it's touching the wire now, so it'll wrap around. At any rate, the whole thing has to be more or less trained to go up to the level that you want it to go. These peas will get up to about here, and they'll have all the air circulation they need, and you'll be able to reach in and get the peas out of it. These are edible peas. This is another row of onions because, as I said, I overbought, so I had to put them someplace, and this was a nice place to put them. And they're coming along pretty good. Here's hoping they stay that way. Oh, there's a basil plant in here, in case you're wondering what that is. We're trying a few companion plants here now. This series here is just in development. This is pollinator attractive plants. Flowers and the like that will draw in the various pollinators, beneficial bugs, so forth and so on, because we definitely need them. We have a problem with pollinators. Insecticides have killed out so many of them. We're way down on the number of pollinators that we used to have. Well, specifically when I was a kid, you was constantly out in the garden squatting down and smacking yourself to get rid of them. Now you can hardly see them. So we've got to have more pollinators, otherwise these aren't not going to do well, because when they blossom they've got to be pollinated. I can't really see myself coming out here and self-pollinating each blossom. So let Mother Nature take care of that. Over here, this is of course going to be beans. And we had a question raised, well, how are you going to mix all your stuff together in a raised box? Well, that's pretty simple. This is a army style shovel, and you just go ahead and start turning the ground over. Yeah, it takes a little bit of work to do that, but it does work. And then after you get it turned over, here's some cow manure that came up with it. You just put it back into the trench. You just keep on doing that for the entire part. This side's been done. This side has got to be done yet, hopefully today. Now, let's take a look inside the greenhouse. I've got a real proud crop of spinach I want to show you. This is spinach that was put in the couple days after March 5th, 6th, or 7th, sometime in there. And it was put in with a balanced bed of Miracle Grow, topsoil, and humus. More humus, more cow manure actually. And it was all spaded up into a workable pile and let set for a while, because raw cow manure, horse manure, and chicken manure will burn your plant if you plant the seeds on top of it. However, as I weed this every occasionally, there is some spinach actually growing up through the cow manure, so I'm not so sure how bad of a burn job that did. This is the experimental bed. This was just planted about 4 days ago. Spinach. This has been harvested because it was going to bolt. This is last year's spinach because I had seeds left in my little bucket, so I planted them wherever I could find a place to put them. And this is where they ended up. And I've gotten, even at this small patch, at least 3 pints off of taking the small leaves off the side and the bottoms and so forth. Well, it started to bolt. And you see the result of bolting when you cut them off. The plant, of course, is hollow and it starts to split. So we'll probably harvest this when I harvest that back there in a couple weeks. Meanwhile, I put in some more spinach. We like spinach around here, especially when it's either in, coated with cheese and all that good stuff. So here's a plant that's 6 days old. Another one there. They're coming up one piece at a time. This is where I have to have patience. Come on, girls, let's grow. Well, they'll take their time to do it. Up here, this too was planted the 1st of March. This is Swiss chard. It's on a bed of cow manure, Miracle Grow, in soil gardening, dirt and topsoil mixed together. 2 bags of topsoil to 1 bag of Miracle Grow. And then, of course, we needed humus so bad, so there's humus in here. And we won't have to put new humus in for quite a while because it still hasn't completely decayed. But it's coming along. Those plants that didn't make it, I've replanted. So there's little baby plants in here as well. Now, I imagine that I can harvest this. I like to harvest this when these plants are at least twice, the leaves are twice the size of this one. Out about to there. Of course, the problem with this, you have to get rid of the stems. The stems are bitter. So you have to cut the stems off, but you can save the leaf. But the stems, get rid of them. What you're looking at now is what Eli is going to take care of here shortly. In fact, we might even film that. This has been set up with the cow manure. This is the Miracle Grow and the topsoil mix. And we're going to take that machine behind you over there. When the battery decides to get finished charging, and I'm going to walk through here with that thing rolling and it'll mix it up real quick. But at any rate, as we film these things as we go on, this will be peppers, bell peppers, because I noticed that my pantry does not have any stuffed peppers in it anymore. We've got to fix that. This is going to be Brussels sprouts, and this is going to be tomatoes. The reason I don't have a big field of tomatoes is because I've had big fields of tomatoes, and I've got more quart jars of tomatoes than I'm ever going to use in 2 or 3 years. So we're just going to have the type of tomato you can put on a hamburger. Not sure what I'm going to do with that bed over there. Most of us like to have the little cherry tomatoes, so chances are I'll put them in there. The annual herbs have been harvested, and there's not much to show you there. The thyme has been taken in and hung up to dry. The sage has been spread up in the dryer, and it's drying now. And the, I call it Mary Jane, but it isn't Mary Jane. The
rosemary.
Rosemary, thank you. The rosemary is brand new. I just planted it. So we'll see how it does. Maybe you can cut.